Mom,
What?
you gonna sponsor my race car?
No.
Alright guys, as you can obviously see, there's not much help for my racing program, at least not locally. Going nowhere fast. Well, I'd like to try to help you out with your program, whatever that might be. Share some knowledge with you that I've accumulated over the years, and maybe make things a little bit easier for you than when I first started out. Today I would like to go over Hondata boost control settings. Now obviously I have our Hondata S Manager program pulled up. I'm about to open up my own personal file for my car. We'll go in here and open it up. Select the tune that I use and bring it up. Now, the very first thing that you see at the very top is Enable Boost Control. So you're going to want to go ahead and check that yes. Click on it so that it highlights everything. Without this turned on, there is no boost control. It will not work without this enabled. Once you know you have it enabled because everything else lights up. Now that we're done with that, I would like to go over to the boost control help section real quick, just to show you a quick diagram of what you're going to need to do and some of the components that you're going to need. If you didn't know already, the US made ECUs do not come with all of the components that you need to run boost control straight out of the gate. So even if you have S300 installed in your computer, it still will not run an electronic boost controller. So what you would have to do is either purchase these items here or send it away to have somebody solder them in for you. The components are really cheap themselves. It's just it takes a little bit of skill to put them in and to know where they go. It can be done at home if you have experience with that kind of stuff. I could have probably done it, but I chose to have mine done by Burton Racing. I was having my coil and plug kit installed that I had purchased from him, and I also had him do this for me. When it come back, everything looked just fantastic. The quality with him is just amazing. So if you want to go ahead and give him a shout out, that's great. He does great work. Now that you've done that, you're going to need to know how to hook up the boost solenoid itself. So they come with just 2 wires. So like if you were to buy a Hondata boost solenoid or a Max solenoid or whatever names are out there, Speed Factory, whatever, they're all the same thing. A Max 4-port solenoid is the exact same thing as a Hondata 4-port solenoid. They just slap their names on them and make a few dollars. So save yourself some money, like I didn't, because I didn't know at the time. I now have a Mac backup in case mine ever goes out. Just go ahead and purchase a Mac one. I think they're 50 or 60 bucks. You know, a Hondata one's going to be $100. There is no difference, none at all. So at least for the 4 ports. Now, what you're going to need to do is there's 2 wires that come off of it. And let's see if it goes, yep, right here. So for the US computer, you are going to want to take one of those wires and connect them to your pin A11. So you would look at your computer and find the connector that's labeled A, and it would be pin A11, and you would pin your wire and push it into the 11 slot. Or if you have a jumper harness, you could pull the one pin out and slide it where that goes in. And the other wire you are going to run to a switched 12 volt source. And you're going to want to put a 10 amp fuse in it. I believe I did this. It's a good idea. Anyways, so a switched 12 volt source, if you do not know, is a source that when you basically turn the key on to the position like where the engine would be running, not where you're trying to start it, but where it would be running after you started it, the components that come on when that key is in that specific position, those are all a switched 12 volt source. So one might be like your radio, another might be like the air conditioning. You could have radiator fans, you could have all sorts of things are switched 12 volts. So all you have to do is find one of those. Usually the easiest thing to do is go to the fuse box and add a fuse jumper and do it that way. So that gets you pretty much set up for the wiring part of it. And when it comes to the solenoid, or when it comes to the actual hoses that run off of it, let's see, that's a 3 port and here's a 4 port. So this is really simple. So basically, those are both 3 ports, of course. So what I will do is I will actually take a picture of mine on my car. So this is a 3-port solenoid setup. So basically you have this port here, port 3, that's vent to atmosphere. So you would have like a little they're like a little filter that goes on there. It's called a diffuser. It's like a little brass fitting that would go up there. Then the bottom right port would go to the top of the gate, and then these two would tie together. So this would be the bottom of the gate, and they would probably tee to here and go to the manifold or to the turbocharger. So that's pretty easy. Now on a 4 port, it would be, so the top right would be the diffuser, the top right, or I'm sorry, the right bottom would go to the turbo. So top right is diffuser, bottom right is to the turbo or the waste or the manifold, the intake manifold, and then the top left would go to the top of the wastegate. The bottom left would go to the bottom of the gate. Top left, top of the gate, bottom left, bottom of the gate. Alright, now that we have that together, let's go ahead and move on to the actual settings. Get out of this help section and come over here. So, to our settings. basically, there's two different kinds of solenoids out there, but 80% of them are the one kind, and then 20% of them are the other way. Most of the ones we're ever going to deal with, they're all going to be maximum boost at 100% duty cycle, unless you go out and buy some crazy one that was made a long time ago. Then that one might be the maximum boost at 0, but most of the time, your Speed Factory, your Mac valve, your Hondata valve, all the normal ones that are out today, those are going to be maximum boost at 100% duty, or, so that's what you're going to click. And then over here is your method of control. So basically, you could just say, okay, no matter what gear I'm in, no matter what I'm doing, does not matter, I want 21% duty. And say that's 8 pounds or whatever. In my car, it might be 7 or 8 pounds. So that's all it's going to do. It's going to be the same in every single gear, no matter what. So it's just the fixed duty cycle. You can change that to whatever you want. That kind of defeats the purpose of having this all set up this way, because you probably want to do boost by gear, because especially if you're front wheel drive, you're going to need it. If you're making any kind of power. If you're making, sissy power, then you can go ahead and do that if you want. I'm just teasing. Alright, so gear-based duty cycle. This is what I do. Basically, gear-based duty cycle. Once you start to know your car a little bit, you'll know that basically 20% makes 6 pounds, 30% makes 10 pounds, 40% makes 20 pounds, 50% makes 30 pounds. You get to figure the car out. And there will be like a threshold where basically mine, once I get above 40%, so 40% makes 20 pounds, there's going to be a threshold where every percent or two you go up, it's going to start to jump like a lot. Instead of like before the threshold, you might go up 5%, only get a pound or two. Well, there's going to be a threshold where you're going to get to a certain point and it's going to jump. So don't just creep up on it. Don't just go from 40% duty cycle to 60. Because if the threshold was like 45 and you just went to 60, you're sending it to the moon. Because mine, literally 40% duty cycle makes 20 psi, 50% makes 30 plus 31, I think, which is the difference of like 500 or 600 horsepower to almost 800. So that's an incredibly big difference. So once you figure that all out, you can populate in these this table here. So basically, the table, I have mine set up differently. Okay, so you see how it starts out at 1,000. Normally, I believe it would go 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, something like that. Well, I changed mine because really from 1,000 to 42 to 44, in that area, say your VTEC comes on at 44, which mine used to, now it's 47, so I should change that. But basically from 1,000 to 4,200 RPM, I'm going to want to command a certain percentage. That's not going to change. But above that, where VTEC kicks in, you might want to change the settings a little bit. You might want to ramp it in a little more as it goes up or taper it out. So basically, you can go in here and say, see how I have it 35, and then it goes down to 32, 32, 32, 32. And normally here I would taper it out a little bit. Like these are low numbers right now, but so the power is going to come in, it's going to stay stable, and then at the end, when I'm really at high RPM, I can pull it out a little bit, you know, but it'll stay steady across because you're making so much more exhaust that taking that percentage out is just going to keep it the same boost level in my application. Now, if you wanted to ramp it in real good, you could take this, set it up to like 45, and then come over, and here it goes to 40. So here it's going to ramp in, and then it'll taper and level out as it comes across. And then when you get into the higher RPM range where you're making a ton of power, you know, you won't blow the tires off. But that's just an example. Anyways, so you have high and low boost here. Mine is set to a switch that is on my shift knob. So basically, I'm going down the road, and I like to drive my car on wastegate, believe it or not. Sometimes it's not fun to have unusable, ridiculous power. So I like to use it on the wastegate so I can go around and I can rip through the gears, you know, and I don't have to worry about it, and I can enjoy the car for what it is. And then say Mr. GT Mustang pulls up, and I don't want to have to worry about hopping and getting in my computer and changing shit. It's right there on my shifter. I come over, and once I press that button, bang, it goes over to the higher table. And now, instead of it making 6 or 8 pounds, now I can have whatever I want filled in there, and the car will respond. Or you can go up and you can do blend boost with flex fuel. I'm not going to get into the flex fuel right now, but basically all you have to know is if you have the high table making like 600 horsepower and you have the low table making like 300 horsepower, you can configure it. So basically, if you only have regular pump gas in, it's going to run on just the pump gas, or just the low tune. And if you have all the 85 in it, it's 100% 85 is going to run on the big tune. Well, if you have 50% E85 in there, it'll interpolate between the tables, and it'll be halfway in between. I mean, it's really neat if you don't want to mess around with any of that, and you just want to, hey, I just want it so that if I want to go fast, I just put E85 in the car, and that's that. And it keeps your car safe too, because you know that if you don't have E85 in it, it's not going to make a lot of power, you know, and that's good. And that you can do that. I did that in the beginning, and then I decided I was just going to run E85 all the time. And I just turn the car down or up when I want to. But in the beginning, I did this for almost a full first season, and it works really well. It does. Let's switch that back off. So that works. Oh, you have your activation pressure here. Yeah, let's go through this. So this is your activation pressure. This is actually when the boost control solenoid is going to turn on. So that sounds exactly like what you think. So when you start to make boost, the solenoid will turn on at that point, wherever you have it programmed. I keep mine at around 2 psi, 1.5, somewhere above that. All I suggest is that you don't set this in vacuum, so that you don't overwork your solenoid. So if you were to have it, say, just say -2 psi or whatever, then that sucker is going to come on and off and on and off, and you're going to have to replace it more than what you would like. So just for reliability issues, I keep it up a couple psi, especially if you have a medium heavy foot. That saves you. It's just a smart idea. So then we'll come down here. You have the air temperature compensation. Basically, we all know that thicker air makes more power, so it pulls a couple percent out. Thinner air makes less power, so you add a couple in. Then you have throttle position compensation. Basically, you can set this up however you want, but full throttle, 99%, you pull nothing. 85% throttle, you could pull 5% duty. 50% throttle, you could pull 25% or 35% duty, whatever you want. And then down here, 25% throttle, you could pull down 50% duty. Basically, it's like it modulates the boost for you, so that if you roll out of the throttle, the car's not trying to make all the power still. If you start to get into wheel spin, you can pull the throttle back some and then roll back into it. It's a pretty neat setting. I personally haven't used it much. I tried it a couple times. It does work. I had some modulation issues where it would roll in and out, and I later figured on that it was something else. But basically, I just haven't gotten the chance to use it again. Now, this is going to be most people's favorite feature. It is quick spool. It is how you outrun the other car, or how you scare your friends, or how you blow your motor up. So basically, you have to be careful with this, but this is how you go fast. So quick spool essentially is you set your target boost. So we come in here, Control J, set our target boost. Say we want 10 psi in every gear, except for first. And we put, let's just go here. Let's go 5 psi, 8 psi, 12 psi. So we have 5 in first, 8 in second, 10 in third, and fourth and 12. Now, in my car on the street, that would be pretty hot. Even with some good tires on it, it would be somewhat hot. But it's pretty aggressive. So a good place to start would be a couple pounds less in each gear than that. It just depends on the size turbo you have, what kind of power you're making. Now, quick spool, basically, it's going to get to that desired PSI as quickly as possible. It's going to slam that wastegate shut and achieve that boost target as quickly as possible, and then it will turn off. So here's fourth gear. We're commanding 12 psi, and you need to know up here, what is this going to make here? Well, I know this is going to be well above 12 psi. This is probably 37. Here is going to be like 18, something like that. And up here, this would be 19 or something like that. So I know I'm safe. I am several psi above what the boost or what the quick spool is going to do. You need to make sure that you're at least 3 to 5 psi above what the quick spool setting is, because if you set the quick spool, say I know this is going to make 18 or 19 pounds. If I commanded this to make 18 or 19 pounds, I just screwed up. And I'll tell you why. Because you are going to way overshoot your target. So the quick spool gets to the 18 or 19 pounds super fast, and the turbo is spinning so dang quick it overshoots, and instead of doing 18 or 19 pounds it goes to 22 or 23, because it has so much inertia, because you just spun it so quickly and shut it off, and it's going to continue. So you need to be at least 3 to 5 pounds above where you set it. That way it can kind of gradually continue instead of spike and roll over and then catch and maintain, if that makes any sense. But you also, the last thing I'm going to say about this is you have to be mindful. If you don't have a built engine, you are making huge torque spikes with quick spool, because it is basically making as much boost as quick as possible. You have to be mindful of that torque that you're making early in the RPM. The higher the RPM, the more the engine can take. So just remember that. And then this is maximum boost by speed. Basically, this is just another way to control the boost. It's not as commonly used as the other boost by gear settings. But basically, you could set down here, you could set like, so 0. So like this would be your 2-step. You could set that to, say 8 psi. You don't want it to make over 8 psi. And probably not what you're going to do, but this is just an example, and it wouldn't allow it to go over that. And same thing here, you can go down the row and basically set boost limits. So that's pretty much that for the boost control, guys. If I forgot anything, let me know. Look, I'm going to say, just real quick, I'll go here. So we've got the gear-based target boost. So basically, once you know your car, and once you know what it can do, the way to set this up would be, so in here, say your car does exactly this. At 25% duty cycle, it makes 5 pounds. At 35, it makes 6. At 45, it makes 6, whatever. Same thing, it makes it like this. So you could go down here. What are you doing? So you could go down here and basically type that in. So you could type, I want 5 pounds, 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds, 10 pounds, 11, 12 pounds. As long as you have these matched correctly, basically, you know that at 6 psi, if you put in 35% duty cycle, it's going to make 6 psi, then the computer will be able to do that for you. So that's the other way that you can do the boost, the pressure versus duty cycle. Me, myself, I find this works just fine. It worked great for me. I can remember what duty cycle makes what psi. So I hope that helped you out, guys. Yet again, I know this video is dragging on, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. I appreciate you checking out my channel. I hope this helped you out, guys, and I will be making new videos in the future. I do want to go over some of the closed loop settings, the closed loop advanced settings. Some people ask me to do a nitrous video. I can do that. I've went through and messed with all that, and I might be doing a launch control video. So if this helped you out, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it, guys. I hope you have a good one. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this to you while we're looking at it together. So if we were looking at the boost controller dead on, the right side, obviously you see the diffuser on the top port. So that's just a vent. The bottom side goes to the turbo for boost reference. The left top side goes to the top of the wastegate. The bottom left side goes to the bottom of the wastegate. And then you see I have my two wires that come in. One goes to A11 and the other one goes to a 12-volt switched source. I'm pretty positive it does not matter which is which because I believe there's no polarity with them. And I hope that you physically seeing that helps you out. Again, here's the top of my wastegate, the bottom of the wastegate, top left, top of the wastegate, bottom left, bottom of the wastegate to the right. Alright, and now for our final step, after we have wired in and plumbed in our boost control solenoid, we can take it a step further and test the solenoid before we either go to the dyno or we go out and test it on the street. Just save ourselves a little bit of time and frustration. So we're here in our S Manager. We've already uploaded the changes into our tune, and now we're going to test it. So we go in, and we've got our ignition turned on. We go into online, and we download our tune. So now we've downloaded our tune. We're in boost control settings, and we go up to online and we scroll down to test settings, or we go down to test outputs. Click on that, and up here there's all of these items listed that you can actually test. Not only just your boost control solenoid, but you can test your fuel pump, your radiator fan, all kinds of things, different outputs that you have. Here's my nitrous solenoid. It's really a useful tool. So now we're going to test our boost control solenoid, and hopefully you can hear it. I imagine you should be able to. It's kind of soft there. It definitely did turn on, and it is humming like crazy. So we can change the duty on it and make the noise get louder. We can change the frequency too if we want to. I usually leave that alone, but there, you should be able to hear that. That sucker's humming at 55%. That would be 35 pounds. 60. 75. If I do 100, it'll just click open and that's everything. So anything close to 100, it usually just stays open. Like, let's try it. There's 95, it's still clicking. Here, we'll do 99. Nothing, it's just open. But that's how you go ahead and you test it. So I hope that helps you out, guys. And thanks for watching. You know, if you liked what you see here, if it helps you out some, you know, I'd appreciate it if you give me a like, you know, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much. Have a good one.